It starts on a regular morning, the kind that feels anything but regular. When you're a shy teenage boy trying to survive, another day Halloween is coming, and Michelle's school is throwing a fancy dress party. He has one thing on his mind, a Spider-Man costume. Something cool, something that might make him feel like someone worth looking at. But he's already running late, so he tucks his money inside his shoes and bolts out the door. At school, the day turns small and strange, in the way it always does for him. He spots Stella across the room, the girl he can barely bring himself to speak to. And he does what he always does. He films her quietly on his phone, holding on to the moment like it's something he can keep. Then a teacher catches him. The phone is gone just like that. The morning gets worse. Before it gets better, Inspector Giovanna walks into the classroom, all authority and calm, and announces that a classmate named Martino has been missing for 2 days. She asks if anyone knows anything. The room stays completely silent. Before she leaves, she hands Michele his lunchbox. She's his mother, and from the look on his face, that's the last thing he wants anyone to know. Then his nose starts bleeding. He slips into the bathroom to hide, but Yvonne and Brando find him. The school bullies, who seem to exist specifically to make his life smaller. Brando reaches into Michelle's shoes and takes his money. Without a second thought, when Michele asks for it back, even mocks him about his father, twisting the knife somewhere deep. Then they throw him to the ground. Yvonne pulls out a paint gun and covers him in color, while the whole class watches and laughs. Michele walks home alone, back in his room. He opens his laptop and finds Stella's Facebook profile. She's hosting a Halloween party. His heart does something complicated. He wants to go. He wants to be seen. By her at least, he counts what's left of his savings and makes a decision. He buys the cheapest superhero costume. He can find a faded, flimsy thing from an old shop. It's not Spider-Man. It's nothing close, but it's all he has. Meanwhile, his mother, Giovanna, is still working the Martino case. She finds a video on the missing boy's phone, Martino speaking calmly, saying he's leaving home, but something about it doesn't sit right with her. Martina was careful, sensible. This doesn't look like a kid who ran away. It looks like something else entirely. At home, Giovanna tries to encourage Michele about the costume. She tells him everyone will love it. He smiles just enough to end the conversation. He never tells her about the stolen money. He never tells her about the paint gun. Bathroom floor, the laughter, he carries it all in silence. That night, the Halloween party is already buzzing when Michele arrives. He's barely through the door. When everything collapses, Ivan and Brando get hold of Stella's private video, the one recorded on Michelle's phone, and they play it on a big screen for the entire room to see. When Stella confronts them, Ivan doesn't hesitate. He points straight at Michele and says the video was found on his phone, that Michele had been stalking her shell. The room turns. Every pair of eyes lands on him at once. Michele can't speak, can't breathe. He pushes through the crowd and locks himself inside a bathroom while people pound on the door. From the other side, in the dark, shaking, he whispers something quiet and desperate. I wish I could disappear so no one could see me. So I could just live in peace. He climbs out the window and goes home. The next morning, he looks in the mirror and his reflection isn't there. His clothes hang in the air. His shoes stand on the floor. But his body, his hands, his face, everything is simply gone. Michele has become invisible. Panic moves through him like electricity. He pulls on every piece of clothing he can find, adds a mask, gloves, layers anything to look like a person. He heads towards school, then stops. He can't do it. He turns back, but then he sees Ivan sneaking something into his bag. A paint gun, the same one. And something shifts inside Michele. Something that has been pressed down for a very long time finally surfaces. He strips off his clothes, turns fully invisible, and follows Ivan into the classroom. A blind man standing nearby tilts his head slightly, like he senses something passing by inside. Ivan is sitting with his earphones in oblivious. Michele picks up the paint gun, fires it, and places it neatly back in Ivan's hand. The teacher turns. Ivan is holding the weapon. His father is called, and in front of the entire school, Ivan is dragged out, humiliated while Michele watches in silence. It's the first time he's felt powerful in a very long time. He's not done. Brando is competing in a tennis final, confident and comfortable, in a world that always bends toward him. Michael slips onto the court invisibly and starts touching him from behind, a hand on his shoulder, fingers brushing his arm. Brando spins around. Nothing there. He loses his footing, loses his focus, loses the match. His father erupts at him in front of everyone. Michael keeps pushing until Brando breaks entirely and runs off the court in fear. But then Michael makes a mistake. After training, some girls head toward the showers, and something dark and wrong crosses his mind. He follows them inside. He shouldn't. He knows he shouldn't. But he does, and then a towel thrown carelessly through the air lands directly on him, and his power cuts out. When the girls pull the towel away, Michele is standing there, fully visible, fully exposed. The screaming starts. Immediately, Giovanna takes him to the seaside. Furious and confused, she demands to know what happened. Michael wants to tell her. He wants to say, I'm invisible. I can disappear. I don't know what's happening to me. But fear stops him. He's terrified that if she finds out, she'll see him as something monstrous. So he stays silent. His nose bleeds again. Giovanna wipes it away carefully, without making it a thing. Then her phone rings. Brando has vanished from his home. Back at school, a psychologist named Giorgio is brought in to speak with the students. He's calm, thoughtful, measured. He talks about loneliness, about kids who feel invisible. He almost laughs at the word. About how running away from the world only leads to more pain. Michele listens, and as he listens, he looks down at his hand. It's fading right there in the middle of the room. His hand is turning invisible if it spreads if anyone looks. His secret is finished. He presses his hand under his desk, keeps his head low, holds completely still. Giorgio starts walking towards him. Then the bell rings. Michael runs at home. He finally tells someone the truth. His younger sister, Candela, catches him with his mask off. Or rather, with nothing there at all, and screams until he calms her down and explains everything. For the first time, someone else knows. Candela doesn't panic. She grins. She calls him the Invisible Boy, and tells him he's a superhero, that he should use his power to help people. Michele doesn't feel like a superhero. He feels like a boy who has already quietly given up on most things. Later, sitting alone in his room, Giovanna walks in. And the moment Michele sees her, his power activates. He turns invisible without meaning to. Giovanna doesn't know he's there. She takes a call from her own mother, and her voice drops low and worried. She says Michele has been acting strange, that he might have found out. Then she says Michele was adopted. Giovanna is not his real mother. The words hit him in a place that hadn't been touched before. He'd been holding on by threads. Bullied at school, humiliated in public, terrified of his own reflection. And now even the one person who felt certain turns out to be something he wasn't told about. He doesn't move. He doesn't speak. He just absorbs it. Invisible and utterly alone, in the same room as the woman he thought was his mother. He goes to the seaside to breathe. He's sitting there when Stella appears. She notices the swing moving beside her, and with no one on it, instead of running, she sits down on the one next to it. She talks into the air, like someone who isn't afraid of strange things. She draws a shape in the sand. Michele draws a smiley face beside it. They begin to swing together, the two of them, one visible and one not. And somehow, it's the most natural thing that's happened to him in weeks. She says she doesn't have many friends. She asks if he'd like to be one of hers. He says yes, the blind man watches from a distance. He apologizes to Stella for what happened at the party. She doesn't run. She lets him in. One night, they sit wrapped in a blanket together, close enough that something unspoken passes between them. They share a kiss. Then Michelle's hands begin to reappear. And he panics, grabs the blanket, and disappears into the dark. Candela sees all of it. She keeps telling him, tell her the truth. Maybe she'll love you for it. Eventually, he listens. He's on his way to see Stella with his friend Mario. When it happens, fast and without warning, a dart strikes Stella and she collapses. A man grabs her and moves quickly. Michele and Mario try to stop him, but the man throws them aside like they weigh nothing, loads Stella into a van, and drives away. Michele calls Giovanna. His hands are shaking. That night he can't sleep. He tries to reach for his superhero costume, the suit that he believes gave him his power, but discovers Giovanna washed it. It's shrunk. It doesn't fit anymore. He tries it on Candela in desperation. Nothing happens. She doesn't turn invisible. He turns on Giovanna, voice cracking with anger, and the worst thing comes out of his mouth. Before he can stop it, he tells her she's not his real mother. So she doesn't care. He leaves before he has to see her face somewhere else. Stella wakes up in a room she doesn't recognize. Martina is there. So is Brando. The three of them stare at each other, and the truth settles over them slowly, heavily. They didn't run away. None of them did. They were taken. Stella starts putting it together. Martino is a mathematical genius. Brando is an elite athlete. She herself is an exceptional gymnast. They were brought here because of what they can do. because someone is searching for people with exceptional abilities. Stella spots her chance. She climbs using Martino and Brando as support and breaks out of the room. She finds herself on a ship moving through another section. She briefly passes an old man in a wheelchair. Something about him unsettles her, but she pushes on. She finds a high tower with a powerful searchlight, grabs it, draws a smiley face on the beam and turns it toward the sky. Far away, Michael sees the signal. He knows immediately. He runs. Ivan finds him in the street. Michael grabs his scooter, and Ivan, who has no idea what invisible force is steering his bike, waves his hands in pure terror. When Michele reappears right in front of him, Ivan goes pale. But Michele doesn't have time for fear. He tells Ivan everything. Giorgio is not a psychologist. He's something else. He took Stella, he took Martino, and Brando, and they have to go now. Ivan is quiet for a second. Then, he says he always knew something was wrong. He'd been sent to Giorgio for an attention disorder, and something never felt real about the man. He reaches into his bag, pulls out his paint gun, nods on the ship. Ivan fires at the electrical panel and the entire vessel. Short circuits, alarms tear through the air, guards scatter in every direction. In the chaos, Michele strips away his clothes, turns invisible and slips inside. He finds a guard, puts something cold against the man's head, says one sentence. The guard opens the door. Stella, Martino, and Brando walk out. Michele locks the guards in a room, then pulls off his mask. They stare at him, and Stella says the old man is still inside. He needs to be saved too. She leads Michele through the dark corridors to a room, deep inside the ship. The moment they enter, the door slams shut behind them. Stella turns. She's holding a gun pointed at him. Michele can't speak. Then the old man in the wheelchair moves. He touches Stella's arm, and she drops unconscious immediately. He looks at Michele calmly and introduces himself. His name is Voland. His power is controlling minds. He used Stella to lure Michele here. Giorgio was never his own man. Voland had been pulling every string. And all of it, every piece of this, was designed to bring Michele to this exact moment. Voland wants access to Michelle's mind. He wants the boy, not the others. And now he has him. The submarine detaches from the ship. The ship begins its countdown. On shore, Giovanna and Andre are searching frantically. Under the blind man he reaches. Ivan first reads his thoughts in an instant, and Ivan leads them to the water's edge. But the submarine is already gone. The ship explodes in a wall of fire and sound. Giovanna screams for Michael. Andre has to pull her back inside the submarine. Voland leans forward and tells Michele something he isn't prepared for. He says Michelle's mother is still alive, that she's been waiting, that the specials now hold real power in the world, and Michele belongs with them, not with these ordinary, fragile people who live small, forgettable lives. Michelle's jaw tightens. He says his mother died years ago. He says he won't be fooled. But something else happens. Something beneath the surface of his anger tears. Loose objects around him begin to shake. Then crack, then lift. Telekinesis. A new power, sudden and overwhelming, pouring out of him like a flood. The guards fly backward. Cracks race up the walls of the submarine, and water starts rushing in. Michele grabs Stella, pulls her into an escape capsule and hits the button. They shoot upward through the dark water, break the surface and land on the shore, in front of everyone. Evan, Giovanna, the police onlookers. Michele steps out of the capsule and turns invisible. He's wearing a mask, so no one knows who he is. But they see it happen. They all see it. Andre steps forward quietly. He tells Michele that everyone's memories of this moment have to go if the world knows what Michele is. He will never be safe. He promises, whenever you need me, I'll be there. And then he reaches out with his mind and gently takes it all away. When people blink and look around, the only thing they remember is Giovanna, the inspector who ran toward danger instead of away from it, the woman who saved those children. By the next morning, her face is on every news channel. People call her brave. She reads the headlines with quiet disbelief. Michele watches her, and for the first time in a long time, he means what he says when he tells her he's proud of her. Some days later, Michele walks into school with his head up. Ivan and Brando come for him out of habit. But Michele doesn't flinch. He looks at Ivan steadily and says, I know about your condition. You don't need to be afraid. You're going to be okay. He looks at Brando and says, you're angry at your father. If you talk to him, things can change. Both of them go still. Neither one says a word. They walk away. Michael keeps walking, but the story isn't finished.